Okay, let's get started. Let's make sure you've got nothing open. So go to File and go to Close All Projects. So make sure, let's go to New Project or File New Project. Let's give it a name. Now this project came with some paperwork, so we're going to go to our project to wedding and our exercise files. Look, there's a copy folder, handy. And in here, there's a couple of PDFs that came from the project. And in this case, under Miller Games, I can't say that. There is a PDF, okay, that has a few things. So we can get the name right, and in this case, we're probably going to name it with the occasion. And actually have the name of how it's pronounced. It doesn't help me at all. Thames? Anyway, it should help me. Okay, so we're going to do wedding. So let's say I'm a wedding videographer. I'm going to start them all probably not with wedding because I'm doing all of them, but I'm not. I'm a part-time wedding. So I'm going to put wedding, so I know it's a wedding. I'm going to put in their name, and then I'm going to put the date in, and it said the 24th of August. Okay, 2013. You occasionally, like normally I use the date, today's date, so I know the month that I've actually got started. But in this case, because it's a wedding, it's quite a specific date, and it might make it easier to find in the future. Where am I going to stick it? I'm going to put it in my exercise files. You do the same. Put it under wedding, and remember we've got a folder. All the project files go in here. Okay, so I'm going to stick it in. Perfect, and I'm going to change nothing else. Click OK. Okay, we're going to import the footage. We've done it a few times. You can go to File Import, or remember, just double click down here. Okay, and we are going to go to our exercise files, and I want to bring in part of the footage. So wedding, let's go to footage. Let's bring in, let's say, the cam A stuff. So go into it, or A cam, and let's bring in all of this. Yeah, why not? Let's bring it all. Click import. Okay, what you might find as well is if your computer is pretty slow, it might be buzzing away down here saying converting files. Okay, it might need to process them so that it can use them. But this has come through just fine. And let's switch to list view. Okay, just because. Let's bring in another bit of footage. So we can't double click the background now. You kind of can. You can squeeze down the bottom there. Okay, but you could learn the shortcut for it. File import, it's not hard. Command I don't know it because I double click every time. Let's bring in, instead of the footage, let's bring in the audio. Let's bring in just the 3 bits of music. Let's click import. You can see quite quickly how this is becoming a little bit unmanageable. Okay, it's really well named. Okay, and it's very clear. You're not going to have this kind of clarity, so we're going to have to organize something into bins. What is a bin? A bin is a folder. That's just the way you call it in video land. Bins were just actual literally bins when they used to have film on reels, okay, big physical reels. They used to stick them in a bin. So you'd have different bins and they used to be labeled. So they continue that along here. So if you hover along this, it should say new folder, but it says let's make a big dusty bin. Okay, we're going to click on that one and let's kind of create it, footage. Okay, that same folder structure I had. So I'm going to grab the first one, click it once. Scroll down to the bottom, hold shift, click the last one. They're all selected. Scroll back up the top here and grab one of them and try and get them in. How do I know they're in? They're kind of indented. I should be able to close it and they all lock in there. Okay, phew, organization. Let's go to music. So I've made a new bin. Call this one, I'm not going to call it music. I'm going to call it audio. There's no rule. You can call it music if you like, but I'll feel bad putting dialogue in there if it's called music. Okay, so you can see how bins can be really helpful for larger jobs. A little bit tedious to reconstruct, so I'm going to show you some tips. But actually one thing I want to show you before we go off and do kind of a little bit more helpful stuff is bins can be confusing. So watch this. If I double click the footage called bin, it opens up in its own tab. Original one, the project, that's home base, the bin is open. So it can be handy just to have the footage open and the audio open, so you can kind of switch between these two, but it can be confusing at first. So I'm going to not going to right click it. I'm going to click the little stripy hamburger menu thing and go to close panel, and I'm going to click on this one, close panel. At this stage, probably what we want to do is in the project window is just twirl it down, twirl it up, hit the little chevrons, and there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. Okay, but if you do want to open up separately, you'll probably do it by accident, and you can close the panel. So that's one thing with the project window. The other thing that happens is when you're creating new bins, you might have already done this and you're like, my bin is inside another bin. You have to be very deliberate about where your bins go. For some reason, it really likes to put them in where you've got selected. So if I've got audio selected, I'm like, I want another bin, and I want to put it next to all of these guys called copy or graphics, let's call it. Okay, so new bin, and you're like, where'd it go? Where's the bin? I can't see it. Okay, what's happened is because audio was selected, watch this, if I twirl it down, my bin ended up in there. Okay, and you're like, oh, what are you doing in here? Okay, I don't know. It's just the way that Premiere Pro works, and it's a little bit, gets me all the time. Okay, so don't feel bad. Okay, so if you are creating a new bin, having something selected means it's going to disappear inside. There he is there. You can just drag it out. By dragging it kind of out here, it's painful. I've just dragged it into audio. It is hard, promise you. Okay, so audio, it's easy when you can see the outside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is delete that guy and just be very mindful of having nothing selected, not you, not you. Okay, just kind of click off in the background, okay, or scroll down to the bottom and there's like always a space at the bottom, click off and then hit a new bin. Okay, and you can kind of rebuild that structure we learned earlier. Okay, this one here, audio, copy, footage, graphics, project files, and renders. You don't need project files, obviously, inside of here, or renders, because project files is a Premiere file, and renders are something external as well. So, but you can rebuild these ones. Okay, so now we've learned a little bit about it. We're going to delete it all. You're like, he does this again. There's an easy way. There is. Now that we understand it, though, we can actually do a nice, real easy way. So we can just double click anywhere. And if you have got fancy folder structure that you want to kind of rebuild in here, so let's click on that one. So I'm inside of project 2. I'm going to select all of these. Actually, don't want you, I want you. So I'm going to hold shift and click just those ones. Okay, and you can import them one at a time. But watch this, I can import it and it will convert it into bins for me. Okay, it's failure to import a couple of things. What did it not like? It's something that is, I think it's the PDFs. I can't see it, hover above it. Failed to import. It hasn't imported the stuff in copy because it doesn't like PDFs. So it'll only import the stuff it can use. So if it's got things in here that, yeah, it was the PDFs. But it's given me the actual folder, okay? And the cool thing about the footage is in here, remember it was kind of separated out in terms of other subfolders, okay? Cam A, CD. Okay, so it's kind of rebuilt all that, which is handy. Audio's in there, so that's kind of the easy way to get started. Copy, am I going to need? Probably not in this particular video. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of it. You might be asking, where's the graphics folder? That was definitely there when we dragged it in. Okay, the graphics folder is not there because there's nothing in it. Okay, it's empty. So it's like, I'm not going to bring in a bin that has nothing in it. Your last question is, can I just have them all lying around in the folder? Okay, or just in here without bins? You totally can. If you're happy to work that way. I always work that way to get started, and it takes me, like if it's a short project, I don't change anything. They just will just lie in the project window. But as soon as they start getting a little bit unwieldy, I start creating the footage, okay, or creating the bins and start kind of organizing them a little bit. But it's just personal preference, and you will need a bin or two, and there are some quirks to it. But now you know them. Let's save our project, and I will see you in the next video.